So I'm sure I'm not the first person that discovered you as a result of all the COVID videos that you've been doing as of late. But of course, your history goes well before that. The great show that you were doing out of St. Vitus and all that. How do you describe what you do to somebody who goes, who is this Jordan guy?
So I mean, no one should know who Jordan is. That'd be weird. But 2 Minutes to Late Night is it's a heavy metal themed late night talk show. It's kind of, we describe it like it's like Conan O'Brien, but in the mosh pit of Woodstock '99.
Right.
So it's just like but the show is just like, it's metal themed, but it's not always about metal. Like, we have all kinds of musicians on the show, and at the end we do a performance with, I think the key of the show is you get an interview with the musician, and then we perform a song with the musician. And sometimes it's either their own song or it's a cover song that we're kind of mutating together. It usually ends up being in the metal world, just to make it it's about celebrating the out like the fun part of metal, the over the
Right.
topness of it.
Over the top, but not the Stallone like hand arm wrestling thing. The better kind.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie, but I know what you're talking. Yes.
Exactly. Well, I'm impressed with your performances on a lot of the videos. The recent Faith No More song that you did, Mike Patton's not the easiest person to cover or do a copy of in general.
No, that's probably the it was the song going into it. I was like, this will be pretty easy. I can do some cartoon voice, but it's like, it's really hard to, it's really hard because he's singing. His singing is very operatic, and there's a lot of like, bending from one note to the other. So it's trying to work within the weird voices and also hit notes properly, which
Right.
is so hard. It's so fucking hard.
Well, in the last week, you also had an incredible video where Max Weinberg was doing a song by the Misfits. How did that happen? Now, I know his son Jay is in Slipknot
Yeah.
and is a big fan of the Misfits, but how did Max get into that?
Well, we've had Jay on the show. We had Jay covering his dad. We did Candy's Room with Jeff from High on Fire and Mel from Royal Thunder, and it was really fun. And he actually reached out to me and was like, I think I can get my dad to play Earth AD. Do you want to do that on the show? And I was, yes, of course, yes, I want to do that. I think, the natural thing would be, you know, I'd like getting Max to play Slipknot, but I think this was like a baby step in that direction. I think we're going to work towards that.
Right. It's intriguing to me that to hear Max Weinberg do those kinds of beats. I don't know if you call it break beats. I don't know what the cool term is anymore for punk rock. What would you call that style of drumming? Four on the floor hardcore?
I have no idea. I don't understand the drums at all. I know how to say halftime and then regular. That's it. That's all I got.
Right. Max Weinberg, of course, everybody's known beyond his work with the E Street Band for decades, being part of the Conan O'Brien universe for decades. But even though he had the comedy affiliation and his son is part of the heavy metal world, you don't quite think like, what does Max Weinberg know? Yet when you think about it, have you ever encountered or met Jerry Only?
I have not met Jerry Only. I went to the screening of Veronica that
Oh
was
yeah.
in Manhattan, so I saw him there. He went to the movies in his full getup. He doesn't not go outside when he's like, all right, do I not have sleeves? Am I wearing? I have the makeup and I have my devil lock. Like, it's just even casual wear. Jerry Only doesn't not have the main garb.
Actually, I gotta correct that. My wife and I were at a Kiss show a year and change ago at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, and I'm wearing a Misfits shirt. And this guy comes up to me and goes, "Cool shirt, man." And he's wearing a Misfits shirt. I'm like, "Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Gonna see him at the Garden. Yeah, I'm gonna see you at the Garden. Yeah, I just had to buy like 50 tickets." And I'm like, okay. And we're talking a little bit, and my wife leans in and goes, "I think that's Jerry Only that's talking to us." Like, no, why would Jerry Only be approaching people wearing Misfit shirts? It was Jerry Only wearing a Misfit shirt talking to people.
That's part of the garb, man. That's part of it. He was also wearing a Misfit. Listen, now having like a thing that has its own merch, like I do embarrassingly wear my merch all the time
Mhm.
when I'm just not because it's perfect, like it's just there. And so I can see why like Doyle and Jerry just wear their own shirts and garbage all the time. Why not?
Why not?
There,
Yeah.
it's free because
Yeah.
you make it.
If it's free and it's cool, why not? I remember one time I interviewed Gene Simmons and he had a rock and roll over case on his iPhone. So I bet you could get a pretty long list of people who do wear their own merch and are proud of it.
I am so not surprised that Gene Simmons wears his own shit. That dude loves himself.
In the best of ways.
Hmm.
Well, all this started because I was a big fan of the videos that you guys were doing, and I was weirdly looking at the wall while you were performing one of the videos, and wait, there's a Van Halen poster, and wait,
Yeah.
I have a podcast called the DLR Cast with Steve Roth, no relation to Dave. And I figured, let's see, this guy is apparently a big Van Halen fan. Are you an all eras Van Halen fan or just the DLR?
Mostly just like, well, I don't know if you saw, like we did a whole, like me and the singer of War and Women have a Van Halen cover band.
I was not aware of that. Please tell me more.
Yeah, we did a 4-song set it's on the 2 Minutes to Late Night channel. And
Wow.
I have a I have a Jaguar that has pink Van Halen stripes on it.
Yeah.
And like I made that but yeah, no, I'm mostly a Roth era. I'm fine with like the Sammy Hagar era is just funny and fun, and it's like I'm never gonna be mad when Dreams comes on. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, whatever. I don't want to talk about Gary Cherone. That hurt my feelings. But no, yeah, no, I love like David Lee Roth era Van Halen is my favorite band. Like I think that it's the weirdest combination of people and styles of musicianship. I think like, you know, when you hear like DLR talk about like his vocal stylings and that he met the weirdest, like he met the most distinctive shredder ever. And then you have like you know, like so basically it's like a like David Lee Roth has like the energy of just like a homeless drag queen and then just shredding, and it's awesome. I love it. It's so cool.
Does your Van Halen fandom continue into Dave's solo career, then that discography?
Yeah, I mean, like I really only know Eat 'Em and Smile.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then I sort of know Skyscraper, and then I come back a little bit because I love John 5 and I wanted to hear what John 5 did with him. There's apparently like a whole unreleased John 5 DLR album that I want to hear.
Yeah, he's occasionally like told people about it, or I think he played a little bit of it to Chris Jericho, and it might have been like 10 seconds on the air, or 10 seconds to Eddie Trunk and all that. Now, you mentioned Eat 'em and Smile, and whenever anyone goes, yeah, I like Eat 'em and Smile, I go, have you heard the album in Spanish?
Yes, I have. So funny. Had to listen. We actually had we had we have a 2 Minutes to Late Night podcast for it's Patreon only,
Hmm.
but it's called Festival Schmestival, and it's where we build a music festival for our guests based on their Spotify recently played, and usually turns out real weird. And we had comedian Kyle Kinane on,
Uh-huh.
and he started his music festival with with David Lee Roth in Spanish and finished it with David Lee Roth in English, doing Eat 'em and Smile back to back. And I thought that's one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
I've never known that Kyle Kinane's a DLR guy, let alone that he knows Sonrisa Salvaje. That's really exciting. One of the people that I interviewed a couple weeks ago for this, Linus of Hollywood, he's written a lot of songs for Bowling for Soup. He used to be P. Diddy's rock remix guy. He's got a lot of credits all over the place. And I said, have you ever heard Sonrisa Salvaje? And he goes, hold on, reaches over to his vinyl shelf, takes it out on vinyl. So
Yeah.
you never know who the diehards of DLR's solo career are. I mean,
Yeah.
was Yankee Rose a thing that you discovered out of nowhere? Or, you know, I can't look at you and go, man, that guy's that many years old to know.
Oh. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I discovered like solo David Lee Roth by accident.
Yeah.
And it's just you know, it's purely, I think it's purely just, it's hilarious. There's great musicianship on it, but it doesn't, like, you know, he got the best players, and like he got Vi. He's like, how do you top Eddie? I'll get Vi, but Vi does not, the charisma and the swagger isn't really there from the Van Halen era, but it is very funny and it is very talented at the same time. And
Yeah.
I love anytime like David Lee Roth is having a conversation with instruments, I know I'm gonna have a good time.
Well, in terms of the Steve Vai charisma thing, there's rumors, and I think this was told to me by Dave's former publicist, Mitch. I was able to interview him. He was Roth's publicist, I think, from 91 to 2004, that apparently Steve Vai wasn't allowed to leave a certain square of the stage because Dave didn't want to be upstaged. Is that something you've ever heard before?
No, but that makes sense.
I mean, I've heard those rumors. I heard that the bass player in Bon Jovi that's been there for like 25 years, Hugh, he replaced Alec John Such. I heard he wasn't allowed to leave his space on the stage. That's really nothing you've heard before?
No, I didn't. I didn't know about any of that, but that makes so much, like, I don't know if you went from like Van Halen, like David Lee Roth is more famous for doing karate than on stage than singing. So
Yeah.
I get that he'd be like, all right, you got to stay out of my, this is my line of fire.
Yes.
Yeah. So that it adds up to me that he would be like, all right, everybody's got like a zone, because otherwise you're going to get hit with a split. Like he's going to do a drag queen death drop, and you don't want to get in the way.
Did you ever see the clip of him? I think this is on the '04 tour when he was doing Jump. Like he takes out a kind of a sword and he's doing whatever you called it, twirling, and he hit himself in the nose with it. And
yes,
so you've seen that.
Yeah, it's I can't remember what talk show it is, but he's like, yeah, he hits himself in the nose, and then I think he performs another song with like the bandage on.
Yeah.
Right? Oh God, so funny.
That's the second time he did it. That's in 2012 or 13 on Kimmel.
Right. Okay. Yes, I've seen that one.
Okay. I'm trying to piece together, because some people, they love Van Halen. They love the catalog. Like, yep, all the Roth albums. I love that. I can dig the Sammy stuff. Sharon, let's forget about that. I've got a different theory on that one. But and then other people are like, oh no, I followed him the whole time. I love the Bob Rock album. So I like to gauge it as clearly you're a music guy who knows their stuff, where your drop-off point was exactly.
Well, you know, I mean, it's all like I wasn't ever old enough to follow his career. Like his career was over when I first started listening to music.
Mm-hmm.
Really, like there wasn't even when like John 5 joins, it's still kind of like he's kind of already out, you know? He's
Mm-hmm.
not. So I do fall off. I think where my attention ends at Eat 'Em and Smile. I think like that, and in Spanish, like I know bits and pieces of the other stuff.
Right.
But that's the last thing that I really know from him.
Understandable. And is Van Halen, you said before, greatest hard rock band of all time?
You know what? I think it's like a toss up between them and Thin Lizzy. I think like those are my two like top favorites. And I think they both bring a lot of different stuff to the table, and it's hard for me to pick exactly which one I like more because of like I love Eddie's playing style, but I love the dueling guitars of like a Thin Lizzy, and like, you know, there's just they both have such different stuff from each other. So it's kind of, but I would say that, you know, prime Van Halen was probably the most, I mean, that's got to have been like the most exciting band ever.
Did you ever get to see Van Halen or Dave live?
No, I missed, we had like, I remember me and my co-creator Drew, we had like an opportunity to go to like Philly or something to try to catch a Dave reunited with Van Halen show. And I think actually literally filming 2 minutes got in the way of that. But now, who knows? I mean, it might not ever happen, but I would have loved to see it. I've heard a friend of mine describe the beginning of the show, and he was like, yeah, Dave just came out and went, Sammy Hagar couldn't be here tonight. He's back in Pasadena washing my kimonos. And I was like, God damn it. So sad I missed that.
That sounds like Dave. My wife convinced me that we needed to see one of the residency shows in Vegas in January. And then she went, we're going for one. We should go for two. You'll tolerate two residency shows? And and here we are. So another thing I like to gauge with people who love old Van Halen is, do you also have the gene for Kiss? No pun intended on the gene, but do you also really like Kiss?
You know what? Kiss has never really been my thing. I like some of the early stuff. Like I think whichever one has like Strutter and Black Diamond on it. I like that. And I like the Ace solo record a lot. I think it's a really good record. But otherwise, it never like, I liked the visual of the band, of course, when I was like a kid, but I had already heard so many, I think so many versions of what Kiss had brought to the table, but kind of, you know, like maybe improved on it a little bit. So to me, I was like I had really gotten it, like I got into Thin Lizzy already. And I think they do the like that kind of, the kind of rock and roll that that Kiss also does, but a little bit better, but without space boots, which I do appreciate space boots.
Without the space boots, without the pyro, but the dueling guitar leads and all that, which I've always thought of Thin Lizzy as like the power pop hard rock band. kind of like the Helicopters, like they're that kind of thing where it can appeal to punk and metal people and power pop people because it's done right. And did you ever hear from the Kiss discography? This is another curiosity of mine. Did you ever hear the grunge album they did called Carnival of Souls?
I've heard of this. I have not heard the actual album.
I like to gauge when people have great taste like yourself, and I'm establishing that on the references that you've made, the interviews you've done, and the performances that you've done. I like to see, does this person know this and or like this? So in the case of Carnival of Souls, not so familiar, but
I know like the Bad Kiss album I know, or the Crazy Kiss album I know is Hot in the Shade. I've heard that. And I think it's like the mark. If someone goes, this album is bad, I think to gauge whether they're right or not, you have to look at the runtime. Like if the album is long, if it's over 45 minutes, they're probably right.
I'm trying to think if there's an exception, if there's a good album that's over 45.
Oh, there are tons. I just think it's like, I think if someone goes, this is their worst album and it's over 45 minutes, good chance they're right. I think that you can, I think there are long albums that are good, and usually like that's due to, it depends. Like if you're listening to like a Yes record where it's just like 4 super long songs or whatever,
Right.
then it can kick ass. Or if it's all like a bunch of tight songs, if it's like a metal album and it's a bunch of tight songs, and then like they do like an 11-minute opus, sure, here for that. But if you're going in and it's like Metallica's Lulu and it's fucking at 20 minutes and crazy, and no, every song is 20 minutes, then you're looking at people who were having a manic episode in the studio and didn't really know what to do with it.
I think you've just inspired a Lulu podcast in about 10 years that will be launched.
We did in the early days of 2 Minutes, we had a podcast where we would like listen to critically reviled albums and try to find good stuff about them. After a while, it's really hard to do that with albums. It's not as fun as like watching a bad movie because they're it's just you can't listen to an album like listening to music at home is like you listen to it by yourself. So you can't like share in the oh my god of something that's bad. So I think it gets complicated, and Lulu was 100% the most excruciating. Like it was a bananas podcast episode because it felt like everyone had a different psychotic break when they were listening to it. And I thought in my listening, I thought that I came up with like a conspiracy theory about the album. And I think that I was like, okay, this album might be like it might show that Lou Reed is an evil genius because I think he tricked Metallica into think they were making art. So he invited them over and he was like, I'm going to trick these people into making the worst album ever under the guise that it's art. And I think he did that and then he died. And so no one can ever prove that. But I think that I was listening to it. I was like, there's no, like Lou Reed is canonically like a horrible person. And it seems like, to me, this would be, I was like, it feels like that has to be what happened because I don't know how people made this otherwise.
Metallica needed a tax write-off?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It could be. I mean, they've had a number of tax write-offs over the year. That theatrical movie, Into the Never, that was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, bring it back.
I've not seen that.
There's a reason why.
Yep.
It's not as good as Kiss's grunge album. I won't score it that high,
Right.
but bringing it back to you here, everyone's kind of in this holding pattern, and when are tours going to happen, when are albums the way that we knew them going to start happening again, we don't know. But for your series of, do you call them jams or performances, or how do you like to build them first?
We're just they're just covers. It's like a collaborative cover. It's I people have said like, oh, this is like your quarantine thing. I was like, but we had actually planned, because we do covers on the show already when we were on at Vitus. Like, this is just a piece of what we did on the show, but we had planned to actually record remotely before the pandemic. Like, we thought that this was like, we finished our first season. We weren't going to make a second one with crowdfunding, so we were trying to sell the show. So what happened was we were trying to we can keep momentum for the show by doing isolated covers. And then when the pandemic hit, everyone was available, and we made so many of them way too quickly, and so now they're coming out once a week.
Okay, so you answered a lot of the things I was about to ask. So condensing it, this is going to continue as long as it's still fun and you have a lot in the can, right?
Yeah, I mean, it gets complicated because we try to I try to get as many started as possible, because you never know, which musicians, because we have a lot of people we want to work with, and there are like tons of people who message us like, get this person on the show. Not everyone has gear is a big thing. So it's like trying to figure out, all right, how to safely get them to a studio, or like find a way to like get them. I've had to coach people through GarageBand for the show to try to get it to work. So
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into it. So sometimes we either have too many songs, or we're like, we got to get somebody on this song so we can keep the once a week thing going as long as we can. But I'm pretty sure this is just going to be a part of what we do for the foreseeable future or whatever.
I'm hooked. I can't wait to see what's next. Simple as that. So I'll ask you the closer, because you've been so generous with your time, and that's any last words for the kids?
Are kids listening to this?
I mean, it used to be you called the kids the people in the pit, and who knows what pits are going to exist in the future. Other people know, like, well, yeah, brush your teeth and do your homework. And other people actually go, well, let me impart some career advice that was given to me by the late, great blank. So it's your form to plug whatever you want or say whatever you want to.
I'll say this. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to make something the way that you did outside of the pandemic, because that just might not. That's the reason the covers are happening, is because it's an easy way for musicians to be creative without having to fully birth an idea. Also, if there are people, and this is a whole other thing. If you have people in your in your life that are having trouble understanding like Black Lives Matter, or concepts like defunding the police or whatever, it's better to not scream at them, but to just try to talk them through it, because that's how you change a mind, as opposed to just pushing someone away, because these are important topics. These are important ideas for the progression to the future, and how anyone learns about these concepts or like learns about privilege or inclusivity is because someone explained them to you.
Mhm.
So that's it.
Converse, not confront. I think that's what Uncle Jordan is saying, kids.
Sure.
Well, I can't compliment enough. When I see a new video from you guys, I know that another week has gone by, but I know that it's a great thing to be happening. So thanks for doing the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you for having me, man.
Keep you posted. We'll tag it when it's live. Thanks, Jordan.
All right. Thanks, man. Toodles.
Paltrocast.